Welcome back. So we are continuing our study in Philippians, and so today we're in verses 12 and 13, and it says, "Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure." So Paul, like we talked about yesterday, Paul talked to them about Jesus being exalted, his name being exalted, that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And he says here, working out your own salvation, but he's not talking about a works-based salvation. That's not what he's talking about. And I want to read the note that went with that verse, and it says that it's not to earn salvation through works, but to be the expression of one's salvation in spiritual growth and development. Salvation is merely a gift received once and for all, and it expresses itself by an ongoing process of the believer to being involved in that spiritual growth. So when it's saying working out your salvation, it means an ongoing relationship with him. It means growing, continually growing and learning more about him. And it's living out our salvation, learning, growing, and having that reverence and awe for him. His name is a name above all names, and we're to continue that growing process in him, living out our salvation. Like we've talked about, loving like Christ, humbling ourselves like Christ, living day to day, serving like Christ. So that's what he's talking about when he says working out your salvation. It's just living it. Once we're saved, that's not the end of it. That's not, well, we got our ticket to heaven, so that's the end of it. That's not the end of it at all. That's just the beginning. That's the beginning of our spiritual journey, our spiritual growth, and daily walking in the Spirit, living our lives focused on him, and living that out. Living out our faith so that others will see him, so that others will see him in us and want that in their lives, so that we can be that example to others, so that we can help others to grow. It's magnifying the name of Jesus. The preacher mentioned Sunday about magnifying the name of Jesus, and we have also talked about that here before. What does magnify mean? It means to make it bigger. Just like when you're looking at a magnifying glass, you're making things bigger. I've told y'all, my eyes aren't that great. So I'm older and they don't work like they used to. So sometimes you have to blow things up on your phone so that you can see them. So you magnify it. And that's what we're talking about, magnify the name of Jesus. With our words, with our actions, with the way that we live our lives, so that others will want to know him. So our spiritual journey isn't just for us, it's for others as well, because just like we talked about earlier this week, it's about him and them. It's about sharing our love of Jesus. It's about living a life to where others will see that there's something different about us, that we talked in this study about where our joy comes from, and it comes from him. Our happiness, our joy, none of that depends on anything here on earth, not in relationships, not anything. It's all found in him. That's where our joy comes from. And when we look at this, when we look at the death that Jesus suffered for us, and we've talked about his name being exalted, He is worthy of our worship. He's worthy of our praise. And we are to live that life walking in the Spirit day by day. We are to live that life so that we can have everything that, He said, that your joy may be full. So He keeps filling us, and, our cups are running over because He has filled us with so much of Himself. And when we allow Him to do that, when we live out our salvation, we're continually growing and learning. That's being shared with all those around us. And that will help others to want to have that relationship themselves with Him, that they need something different, and He is what they need. So I hope that you have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next time. Thanks, guys.